Good afternoon, my friends. It's Krebs here, and today we're going to be playing a little bit of World of Tanks. In this episode, we're going to be continuing on the series of leveling up the Chinese and going through each individual tank, their history, the statistics, some gameplay, yada yada yada. We're going to get back onto the patch 8.5 test server in coming episodes. Don't worry about it, we'll get back onto it soon. But I really wanted to get back onto this series because I was enjoying it. I was having fun actually finding out the history of tanks and the statistics and then throwing those at you guys, and yeah, I just enjoyed it. Alright, so in this episode we'll be taking a look at the history, the statistics in compared to other tanks, and also some gameplay, some entertainment, and how you should play the tank towards the end. So, in the last episode we were taking a look at the Tier 3 Type 2597 Chiha light tank over here. In this episode we're going to be taking a look at the Tier 4 light tank, the M5A1 Stuart. So, history. This tank is similar to one that we already know. If you go over to the USA tech tree, you'll see that there's an M5 Stuart. It's essentially exactly the same thing. The M5A1 for the Chinese is based off of a slightly later production model, but it's essentially the same thing. With a few slight adjustments that I'll get onto in a wee bit, in a few moments, but let's talk about some history. So, towards the end of World War II, the Americans actually found these tanks quite obsolete. They were getting replaced by the Chaffee, and I don't want to go too into depth about the M5A1 Stuart, because I actually want to talk about the M5 Stuart when we get onto the Americans themselves. But it was given, these M5A1 Stuarts were given to the Republic of China, their army, during the Civil War in China. If you know anything about it, it's basically the uprising of communism. So you had the nationalists and also the communists over in China. The communists wanted to take over, and so what they were doing was essentially ousting the nationalists out of China towards Taiwan. And so, you know, Americans, they're all about democracy, democracy, USA, right? They wanted to give him a bit of help, and so they gave him some tanks that they didn't really need anymore. So the M5A1 Stuarts. Plus, it was also a good decision because over in China, they didn't really have a lot of heavy tanks. I mean, you can see that in the tech tree, for example. A lot of these tanks that they had were just given to them from other countries. They didn't have a lot of heavy tanks, and so there wasn't a need for heavy armaments or anything like that. So light tanks such as the M5A1 was sufficient enough to actually use on the combat front lines. And so the Americans gave over a handful of these to the nationalists, the Republic of China. And what was happening was the Republic of China, they were actually ousted from the mainland China by the communists. The People's Republic of China, sounds really similar. People's Republic and then Republic of China. Two different things. People's Republic is communists and the Republic of China is nationalists. So the nationalists were getting chased away over into Taiwan. There's these two little islands between Taiwan and China. One of them was actually Kinmen. This tank actually earned the name of the Bear of Kinmen on that island, because what was happening, the communists actually were thinking, in order to destroy the nationalists altogether, they were retreating into Taiwan. They were thinking, before we get into Taiwan, we need to take these little islands. So the nationalists, knowing that these islands were going to be important, they fortified them like crazy, including Kinmen, the island of Kinmen. And so what happened was, on the attack day of the communists on Kinmen, these tanks were on the front line defending. And the reason they were called the Bear of Kinmen, and this is a bit epic, they were killing so many infantry. The Chinese were literally coming in at waves. The communists were coming in at waves. Literally waves of human infantry at these tanks. They were firing so rapidly, they were getting off so many shots, so many rounds. Eventually they ran out, and once they ran out, they didn't stop there. They actually started crushing these waves of infantry of communists with their tracks. They became essentially rollers, and that's how they became known as the Bears of Kinmen. In fact, if you sort of look at the tank, it actually looks a little bit like a bear, doesn't it? Does it? It's just me now when I'm thinking about this and talking about it right now. And so that's how it earned its name. It was very useful on that island. In fact, the nationalists actually were able to defend the island, not only because of the Bear of Kinmen, it was a variety of different things as well. Also failures of the communists. But because of that, that was a deciding factor of why the nationalists weren't ousted away from Taiwan. That's how Taiwan is actually like nowadays. So, yeah, a little bit of history for you guys. Let's talk about some statistics. So now that we have a direct comparison of the M5A1 and the M5, I think it's fair to say we should compare the two. Exact same tiers, exact same sort of tank. They're both light tanks, except the M5A1 is a little bit of a later production model. Let's see if it's going to be better. So I'm going to be throwing a bunch of statistics in front of your screen. I'm going to be reading them off. In the previous episodes, I was just reading them. I think it's going to help if you can actually see them as well. All right. So the statistics I'm going to throw at you are based off of top values. So that's going to be all the best equipment on your tanks. So the M5A1 and the M5. Okay, here we go. So both tanks have 340 HP. Their signal range is exactly the same at 615 meters. The speed limit is increased for the M5A1 at 64 kilometers per hour, whereas the weight of the M5A1 is actually a little bit heavier. It's at 15.998 tons, so essentially 16 tons, a full ton heavier than the M5, but still doesn't really matter. It can somehow get an extra 6 kilometers per hour on that. Perhaps that is due to the suspensions, I imagine. The suspensions are a different variety on this tank. The engines are exactly the same, so you can't really say it's down to the engines. It must be the suspensions. The crew is is not the same, sorry. There's 4 men on the M5A1, whereas in the M5 you've got 5 crew members. The commander is going to be doubling up as a loader as well. For armor, you can see that there is 28 millimeters on the front of this tank, and you're also going to be seeing a picture in front of your screen of the actual armor values itself. You're going to see that there's 28 millimeters on the front, the sides, and on the back you've got 25 millimeters. On the front of the turret armor you got 44 millimeters, 31 millimeters on the side and back. Whereas the M5 Stuart, near enough the same. I don't think there's actually a reason to spew these values out at you guys. You can probably read them. Near enough the same. But when you're actually looking at this picture of where the values count, you're going to notice that you're going to want to not hit the bottom of the M5A1 on this bottom plate over here. That is very thick for some reason. A lot of times you'd be more inclined to hit the bottom of a tank thinking, oh, it's its belly, it's going to be easy to penetrate. Well, lo and behold, that's a bit of a surprise for you. It's not going to be able to be easily penetrated from there. You can maybe penetrate them from the front, but then again, look at the slope on this tank. There is a little bit of a slope there, so it's going to be more difficult to do that. If anything, yeah, just try your luck. Try to hit the tank from an angle, maybe on the sides, maybe on the sides of that lower plate, not directly in the middle where it's the thickest. Try to hit it from any side, essentially, and hopefully you'll be able to penetrate that. That is the armor statistics here. Let's head on down to mobility. Engine power has 400 horsepower. Am I reading this right? 400 horsepower on this engine. Let's go on over to the tech tree from the M5. I need to clarify this for myself right now as well. This one has 350 horsepower. What? Are you having a laugh? This is exactly the same engine, guys. You can see it right here, right now, in front of your screen. This is exactly the same engine. So this comes down to, I imagine, balance issues, I guess. Is it balance issues? Maybe one of you can clarify this for me. But it has 400 horsepower on the engine rather than 350 horsepower. So I guess that combination of perhaps the suspension and the engines is going to be allowing the higher maximum speed. Horsepower per ton, 25 horsepower per ton for the M5A1, making it more superior than the M5. However, despite having a better engine, the traverse speed for the M5A1 is less than the M5. Alright, everything is coming together here. M5A1 running on diesel and the M5 on gasoline. Not sure if that actually makes a big difference in actual gameplay. View range for the M5A1 is slightly less by 20 meters. Turret traverse is increased by an extra 4 degrees per second, meaning you'll be able to get that turret moving around. If you're ever trying to circle around people, you'll be able to keep up with them. And even if somebody's trying to circle around you, I mean, you're a light tank, chances are that's not supposed to happen, but if it does, at least you'll be able to keep up. Armaments are a bit funny. The M5 Stuart is actually, it has a different turret on it, and it's equipped with a howitzer, essentially, which gives it different sort of ammo. It gives it HE and also heat rounds. So, whereas for the M5A1, you're going to be working with a 47mm gun, you're going to be getting 70 HP per shell, whereas 175 for the HE with the M5. So big difference there. Okay, big difference, but then the penetration is going to be very different. Again, you can see it in front of your screen. 81mm for the M5A1, 38 for the M5. So good luck even penetrating anything with the M5 unless you can get some heat rounds on there. Apart from that, you've also got an increased rate of fire for the M5A1 expected, since it's not using a howitzer. Reload time, less accuracy, a lot better than the howitzer. And aim time, exactly the same. Ammo capacity, bigger for the M5A1. So one thing I actually want to ask you guys, and I probably need a little help with clarifying this, is how does this tank have a 47mm gun? I have actually not been able to find this anywhere in my research, that this tank ever had a 47mm cannon attached to it. It definitely had a 37mm M6, but I'd never read anywhere about a 47mm. Is it true? Is it not? Maybe one of you historical buffs can correct me there. That'd be pretty cool. So anyway, that is the statistics of this tank. And now, I think it's time we jump on into some matches. So I'm going to be showing the tank in 2 different lights. Let's go ahead and jump on into those games. Alright guys, so this is going to be the first game that I'm going to show you. It's pre-recorded. And in fact, all these games I'm going to show you today are going to be pre-recorded. There's just 2 of them. But it's going to show you different capacities in which to use this tank. One is going to be when you're put into a higher tier match, because the tier matchmaking on this tank is absolutely god awful. In fact, you'll be placed into up to tier 8 matches, and it's only due to being a light tank. And so because of that reason, you're gonna have to adapt and play differently. You're gonna have to scout. So one capacity you can do that when you're in a higher tier match is to be passive. Alright, you don't want to get hit like I just did there, but you're gonna see essentially what I'm about to do here. It really depends on what map you're playing on. But this one is actually very good for scouting, especially when you're playing on this game mode, because as you can see, the victory point is down south, and this gives us a great opportunity to hang just at the edge of the sand dune, poke our head over, and briefly scout people. As you can see, I'm scouting a lot of people right now. Got a lot of first sights, and also maintaining that view for a few seconds, and whatever damage is being dealt by my teammates onto those tanks, I'm going to be getting about, what, half, I believe? Half the credits and XP earned. So there's a lot of potential, especially in a tier 8 match. So it's all about adjusting, and now there's no point in me actually showing you any more of this gameplay footage, because it's essentially the exact same right on throughout. I go near enough like this the entire match, just actively scouting at the top of this sand dune. Now what I will show you though is how much credits and also XP I earned. In fact, I also earned the 2nd class mastery with this tank, having only shot once in this match, and that was a miss. Okay, alright, so here it is in front of your screens. Alright, and so the second capacity I'm going to show you with this tank is when you're placed into a normal game. So say, for example, placed up against tier 4s right here, so it's just my tier. And now rather than doing this active scouting, as I was doing in the previous match with the higher tiers, now I actually can be a bit offensive. I can actually penetrate stuff. You know, in tier 8, you can you pretty much bounce off of the rear armor because they're that heavily armored. So at least I can actually kill something now. We're gonna be playing on Red Shire in this match, and what I'm doing is heading down along this side because I don't want to be camping on top of the hill. Because yada yada yada, I'm a scout. I should use my agility to my advantage, get somewhere into an advantageous spot. So what I'm doing is heading down along the southern to the south, going along the side of the map. You can see that in the bottom right hand corner, by the way. And all I'm doing, I'm not going directly where my guys were. I'm just going to be going to this area where there's a bit of a farmhouse and a windmill. Gives you plenty of good cover, and your opponents might not actually be expecting you to come out there because they'll expect you to come from that river pass where the rest of my team is over on the side of the map. So for example, now the enemies are totally focusing on them. They see a column going. This gives me an advantageous spot because I'm a little bit on the side, more towards the middle of this area, and now I can snipe tanks, which I wouldn't normally be able to do if I was on the side of the map. So for example, that T-28 over there, getting some back armor shots on him. Would I have been able to hit his back armor if I was on the other side where my teammates are? Probably not. So it's all about getting into an advantageous area. Some place that you can get to quickly and then use it to, well, your advantage. Snipe at your enemy. The weird thing about this tank, yeah, it's a light tank, you can get a lot of good speed on it. It just doesn't have that great traverse speed. I mean, you guys saw it, it doesn't have a great traverse speed on it, and you will actually feel that. When you're trying to circle around the tank, you'll be making a bit wide circles. And that's why when I'm playing this tank, yeah, you can circle around enemies, but it's almost a bit scary in a way. They can sometimes almost catch up onto you. So this is why I like to use it in this role more. Get around the map, get somewhere nice and they have difficulty seeing you, and then snipe, as I'm doing right now. I can just easily see these guys, and that's what I'm doing. I'm missing quite a number of shots here as well, but it's only just due to the gun, you know, gun accuracy and just being unlucky. But all I'm doing is sniping these tanks. There's the M3 Lee right there. Normally hard to penetrate from the front, but I see that how many turrets does this M3 Lee need to have him stacked on top of him? That's going to be his weak area. So if I can hit him there or in the side armor, no problem. And that's exactly what I'm doing. M3 Lee is a tall fellow, and so although he might be hiding behind something right now, maybe a rock, doesn't matter. Can shoot those turrets that are stacked on top of each other. And now he knows he had to move because he was getting shot. He was kind of wary about it, so I just scared him. Told him to get the heck out of his cover, and lo and behold, shot him inside when he was moving out, made him an even easier target, and he's dead. Okay, so I see my teammates about to get flanked up here, what seems to be anyway, so I'm thinking, yeah, maybe go help up there, but then a whole bunch of enemies are down here. AMX-40, pain the behind to actually penetrate. Really is so hard to penetrate that tank. You need to have good penetrative capabilities on your turret if you're going to be able to take that thing on, unless you try to hit him in some weak spots. Cupola, for example. Gonna be hard to do that from this distance. Alright, so if you take a look on the tactical map in the bottom right, you'll see that there's two enemies heading up north. So I'm thinking, yeah, time to start moving. I could keep on going down south and help my teammates take on the AMX-40, but you know, knowing how games sometimes turn out, it's I'm gonna be a bit conservative, a bit cautious, and well, probably the better thing to do, go defend my base. Sometimes it's better to do that than just be risky and try to go for the enemy base when your own base is needing defense. So one of their tanks was actually destroyed. Now here's the last of them. I'm having trouble seeing what this one is because I'm trying to do a post commentary over this. Sorry, I can't really see. It's a cruiser. There we go. Oh, Covent. God, my eyes are so terrible right now. I'm sorry, guys. So I think, yeah, I just destroyed. I'm thinking, yeah, that's about it. There's a Hetzer up there. How the hell did the Hetzer kill me? What the actual hell? It wasn't even the enemy Hetzer that killed me. It was my own freaking teammate Hetzer that killed me. What an outrageous match. I was actually like, Hetzer, you for real? You having a laugh? Just because I kill stole, quote unquote, kill stole your tank. I mean, it was only 8 damage. You know, these kills don't... 8 damage doesn't mean anything, hardly anything. That means you have to kill me? I just felt like I was going to go on a crazy spree right there. But anyway, guys, that was frustrating. I reported that guy in the end because that's ridiculous in my opinion. I checked out his efficiency afterwards and I was like, oh gosh, nice. Whatever happened to team play? So it could have been an absolutely fantastic game. But I'll show you what the statistics were for that in front of your screen. And there you go. So anyway, that is the M5A1 Stuart for you guys. What we're going to be working on next is moving on to the Type T34, the Tier 5 medium tank for the Chinese. It's going to be a little bit longer until KrebsCOHO can get that, so hopefully it won't take too long. ×5 XP event going on right now. Fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. Until next time, this is Krebs, and I will catch you all later.
Right, here we go. 3, 2,